My amplified unit, top of the morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world, salute. The very latest on Vincent Kennedy McMahon, Jeff Hardy, Chelsea Green, BigE, Miro. I got the very latest on all of them coming up in this very amplified bonus video. We're also going to talk AEW Dynamite from just last night, 12/21/22. BC has the rating for that show, and I'm also going to give you my overall thoughts on most, if not all, of the segments from last night, and we're going to see if the number is justified, right? Did the number complement the show? Was the show good or bad? And is that number shocking, or is it right about where you would have probably had it? We're going to talk about all of that coming up. Obviously, you can see BC is sporting the Bah Humbug sweater. Bah Humbug! So you know it must be Christmas season. Christmas is actually in just a few days. So if you celebrate Christmas, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to everybody. Hopefully you're kicking ass during this Christmas season. If you don't celebrate Christmas, then it's just Sunday for you. Hopefully you get some good football or you pick up a hobby, right? Go play in the middle of traffic. Go whack your neighbor a few times with a 2x4. Ho! That's a little bit of homage over the hacksaw Jim Duggan. Anyway, pick up a fucking hobby. Throw fireballs at somebody, right? Become a wizard. We'll talk about that last night with Jericho and Andretti, man. That was funny. But, yeah, man. So it's a busy week for everybody. I know it's late, so I'm going to try not to make this too long. There's a lot to go over, but I'll try to run by it rapid fire. A couple of shout-outs that I need to do before I get into any subject. There'll be a shout-out at the end of this video for all of my members. Sometimes you're going to see it in writing, all of my members in writing and post-edit, and sometimes I just want to give a legit shout-out. And this is one of those times. So at the end of this video, if you are a member, a gold card member, if you're supporting the channel via membership and you have that gold card, I'm going to give you guys another personal shout out at the end of this video. And a separate shout out I want to do right now to some of my super thankers, man, the last couple of videos, whether live stream or straight video format. TV Tony, appreciate the super thanks. John Cena, Demonte Mabry, Moto Colo, Moto, and Clutch City Fan. Thank you guys for the super thanks. That button down below that the tube created several months ago, man, to tip the creator. And you guys have been throwing BC Coffee on that little button down below left and right, man. I honestly thought that thing would be kind of lost in the shuffle. You'd be surprised how many coffees are thrown over to BC and how much support and how much thanks that tip button down below actually is utilized, man. A lot of you guys tipping BC and saying thank you to BC with that super thanks down below. So to those individuals, I did want to start off by just saying much respect back to you guys, and I'm the one who's thanking you guys. And again, for my members of the channel, I'm going to give you guys a special shout out at the end of this vid because you guys are growing by the day, man. And that is so badass. And that's why I don't want it just in writing for this vid. I want to give an actual shout out. Now, let's get into it, man. Dynamite, I'll review that show a little bit coming up. We'll talk about the rating for Dynamite. We're going to talk Miro. We might as well lump that together. We'll talk a little Chelsea Green, Jeff Hardy. I want to talk Vince McMahon first. Vince McMahon, last week, and BC was sitting on this for a while, and I wanted to break it, but I wanted more info. And then before you knew it, it was broke by several other entities, and everybody found out exactly what BC already knew, that there was legitimacy to the story. Vince McMahon is planning a return, right? Every reputable person pretty much picked up on that. The Wall Street Journal was the first one. Forbes then picked up on it. And nobody could dispute it. Everybody tried to. The latest, let's just cut to the chase, the latest entity to confirm that Vince McMahon is in the middle of a planned comeback to WWE is Sports Illustrated. And in their report, they literally say the people that they reached out to, the people, the upper echelon, if you will, those around McMahon, they can now confirm that Vince McMahon is planning some type of comeback to WWE. Now, that same report goes on to say how difficult it is going to be because the shareholders, the board, anybody that has any vested interest financially into this company, this is not a good idea, right? I mean, the stock already dropped a little bit when the announcement was made that McMahon was planning a return to WWE and in that CEO role. The stock dropped, not exponentially, but it dropped a little bit. And if it actually happens, it's going to drop even more so. But let's not act like McMahon's not all about the bottom dollar. McMahon is the one that facilitated the blockbuster $1 billion Fox deal. McMahon's the one that facilitated the whole $100 million a year over 2 shows a year with Saudi. That was all McMahon. The USA, multi-hundreds of millions of dollars from the Raw show. So let's not act like this guy's not liquidating. He doesn't have a creative bone left in his body, unfortunately. McMahon stopped caring about what the audience likes or enjoys as the majority. He stopped caring about that, but he's all about the bottom dollar. So if anybody thinks that that's going to sustain itself, right? At first, you're going to see a lull if McMahon returns as CEO, and then you're going to start seeing the fucking money pour in again because he's going to continue to do what he did the last several years before he exited. And I use that in quote because he never actually exited. He put his fucking puppet regime in to do the dirty work until the smoke settled, the dust cleared, and he was ready to come back. That's all this ever was. But should he come back, he's going to pick up right where he left off for years, and that's just continue to liquidate the company until he is ready to sell. Because he's not going to sell this company, and he's got to be the one with the final approval, by the way. He's never going to sell this shit if he's just on the outside looking in. He needs to be the one in total power at the time. He's got all the fucking voting power, might as well anyway, share-wise, 81% of that voting power. That is astronomical in business for anybody that knows. So all he needs now is to be back at the top of the helm, and that's what he is currently planning. Sports Illustrated is the latest to confirm that they've had people reach out to the top upper echelon around Vince McMahon, and everybody, they're hearing the same thing from everybody. He is absolutely planning his return to WWE. They're just trying to make it strategic. What's the best way to get in there, get the job done, and ruffle as few feathers as possible? And Sports Illustrated talked about how it's going to be hard to get everybody on the wavelength to think, okay, McMahon can come back and business will boom and we'll make the most money possible. People are already starting to say, hey, man, with the new regime set in place, the stock is looking pretty damn good. Morale is up. Investors, advertisers, everybody looks to be pretty damn happy. What's the upside of McMahon coming back? So Sports Illustrated and a few other articles are saying how this is going to be a challenge for McMahon to get them to accept him back. The problem is, exactly like Sports Illustrated said, and BC was the first one to say this when this story broke over a week ago, McMahon doesn't need them to do jack shit. There's no legal loophole that says McMahon needs anybody. McMahon can literally, with the 81% in those voting shares, with the majority of that ownership that he has, McMahon has every right, legally, to fire the board, the directors. Literally, I'm not making that shit up, man. Sometimes in business, there's these legal endeavors which you cannot do that. Now, is that the ideal situation? No. Would that cause panic and unsettlement, unrest, ruffle all the feathers for those that have financial vesting interest? No question. That's why you don't want to do that. McMahon is going to strategically try to do this with his legal team and everybody that's in his ear. He's going to try to do this by going through the right way of passage and really selling the directors on why they should take him back and understand why it is best for business, even though we know that's jack shit. But he's going to go about it the right way, or try. And then if that doesn't work, be prepared to see unrest to the most hellacious of measures. You thought you were fucking around with the devil before. You've never seen Vince McMahon the devil. That's only 25% of what he's capable of. You're not going to lock this guy out of his own company. And Illustrated is the latest reputable source, because they do have people that can reach out to the upper echelon. They are the latest to confirm that Vince McMahon feels that he was slighted. Vince McMahon feels that he had bad advice given to him, that he had bad legal representation, that he had bad intake and intel when it came to removing himself from WWE and retiring. He feels like he got shafted. And now here we are all these months later, and these stories keep popping up, and the smoke is not settling. The dust is still prevalent, and it's a black cloud over WWE still, even though without McMahon, you started to see some slashes of sun peek through those clouds, but it's still a black cloud for Vince and Kennedy McMahon. They were hoping that after a couple of months, it'd be good. Nobody's talking about him anymore. No, new cases arrive. Documentaries are coming out about Vince. The dude's still getting slammed in articles, and he's like, well, what the fuck? I did what everybody told me to do. I was supposed to just take off and everything would settle. Now everything is just getting even fucking worse and even worse. I'm not even in the public eye. I can't defend myself. I can't go to the fucking ring and show people that it doesn't bother me. I can't state my fucking case or my claim. McMahon is pissed off. They say hell hath no fury like a woman scorn. Hell hath no fury like a Vincent Kennedy McMahon scorn. If you think this dude will not move mountains, move entities, move companies, move worlds to get back to WWE, you don't know Vince McMahon and what he's capable of. Every reputable source or article or entity is all reporting the same thing. And there's a reason. It's true. Vince McMahon, unless some magical occurrence happens, some wizardry from either Harry Potter's world or Chris Jericho's world, but it would take some wizardry. Fucking Dumbledore or Chris Jericho. Some fucking wand would have to be waved for McMahon not to return by the first quarter of next year. That means anywhere from January to March, which just happens to be WrestleMania season, by the way. Kind of makes sense that he now more than ever wants back in. And you got the Raw 30th anniversary coming up, I believe, next month as well in New York City. Next month or February, one of the two. So it's, you know, you keep expecting the other shoe to drop. And after all this words, you expect some entity to come out and go, oh, by the way, no, man, there's no truth to that. That's just, that's just hearsay. Vince is not going to. No. Instead, you keep hearing another reputable source and another reputable entity. Everybody's saying the same thing. We reached out. We're hearing the same shit. He is in the... Sports Illustrated themselves said that he is in the midst of planning his return. Like, as they're writing the fucking article. And while it's not going to be easy to get the directors on his side, he can absolutely fire every one of those sumbitches. He can. There's no legality that WWE has that he can't do that. Some companies you can't do that. You absolutely, I mean, because it's unfair practices. You can get lawsuits and no, WWE, it's not, there's no writing, man. People are like, no, but you see, there's more to it. He can't just fire it. No, he literally can, man. Like, I'm not fucking around. I've already done my due diligence on this. There's no wording. There's no writing that BC has seen that says that WWE has anything, whereas Vince cannot do that. It's a different type of thing they got going on, man. And that's the craziest part in all this is if they don't do it McMahon's way, McMahon used to say, Stone Cold, we could do this the easy way or the hard way. Stone Cold always chose the hard way. The directors, WWE, the shareholders, everybody, they could choose the hard way, and Vince will do it the hard way. But either way, this dude's going to get his way if he wants it. Unless that wand is waved and something changes his mind between now and January, February, WrestleMania season, which is fastly approaching, McMahon's coming back. Anyway, guys, that's the latest I got, man. Sports Illustrated. They first put out an initial article a few days ago, and then I just saw a recent one within the last 24 hours as well, kind of backing up those. It was basically like a gist of what they wrote a few days ago with just some extra backing into the story, just talking really about how they reached out to people. And yes, it's true. What they're hearing is that he is planning. So it's not just he wants to. It's not just that he got some bad advice and he feels slighted. Now the latest report is he is planning his return. That means, I like I said, not to be a broken record, but unless somebody waves a wand and he just changes his mind, if he's already planning his comeback, guys, there's no way out of that, you know? And I know people are like, no, it's much better with Triple H and this and that. I hear you. I don't see that it's that much better, to be honest, but I would agree that I don't see with Vince McMahon coming back, I don't see how that's going to help the fans or WWE. Financially, yeah, they'll keep making fucking millions and millions and still be $1 billion conglomerate. Because McMahon linked up with Tony Khan. No. We'll get to Tony in a little bit. Nick Khan, the right-hand man of Vince McMahon and Nick Khan, they are, together they will just liquidate that company until it's time to sell. And then they'll make even more money. That's just what they've been great at for the last couple of years. And so I expect that to continue. If you think you're going to get a better Raw product, a better WWE as fans, no, you're not going to get that with Vince. That's why I don't want to see this at all. Unfortunately, it is not that much better with Triple H. Is it a little bit? Like a little bit? At times, yes. At times. SmackDown is still the better show than Raw. That's always been the case. The best storylines right now, I believe, is Bray Wyatt and maybe Roman Sammy, and that has nothing to really do with Triple H. Bray does his own shit. Roman signs off on his own shit. The Uzi thing came from Sami Zayn. Just why? You heard his interview. Triple H never approved that. That was never in a script. So, nothing that I'm seeing that's epic right now has anything to do with H, and that's what concerns me. He's just bringing back a lot of people. He's using them weird. They're debuting in the most oddest of ways. Bronson had crickets this past Monday. Bronson Reed, everybody was sleeping. They either didn't know who he was or didn't give a fuck. Johnny Gargano's blowing whistles or blowing smoke up fucking Dexter's ass. Everybody is returning or debuting right next to the fucking Miz. Whether it's a fucking Bad Bunny or a Logan Paul, why do both of them have to be with the fucking Miz? Why does every celebrity have to rub shoulders with the fucking Miz to try to get over? With actual talent, it's the same thing, man. Tommaso Ciampa, Johnny Gargano, Dexter Lumis, Bronson Reed. What do they all have in common? They all have to be around the Miz for their debuts and so on. It's pathetic. It's not helping them at all. Mia Yim, Sarah Logan, or Mia, now called Munchkin, Sarah Logan, Van Halen, whatever the fuck. You know, nobody cares about them because they didn't debut properly or re-debut properly. They're not involved in anything that's meaningful to the point where you're like, fuck, thank goodness they got signed back. And you can't even say, well, it takes time. No, when you're going to bring somebody in or back or debut them, you better have long-term plans from the jump. You only have one chance, one shot at a first impression. Don't waste it. Don't ruin it. Don't just bring them back and go, oh, see, they're back. Now give it a few months. We're planning some stuff. No, you got to have a plan or don't debut them. It's not a water faucet, right? It's not hot, cold, man. You shouldn't be able to twist that shit. Oh, I'm going to go to the hot water. Oh, now I'm going to twist it back to the cold water. That's not going to do anything, man. That's not going to do anything at all for a talent. You bring them back, you strike hot with that debut, and you keep the momentum going afterwards. It's not that hard, man. Triple H is botching that left and right. Monday Night Raw's in the shitter. They're pulling 1-4, 1-5, 1-6s. This week was astronomical. They threw everything at the wall. On paper, it looked like a mini pay-per-view when you look at AJ Styles versus Sami Zayn, Becky Lynch versus Bayley. Usos are running fucking wild. Or the Bloodline, I should say, until the very end of the show where they look like idiots. But they threw everything at the wall, and they just got over 1.7. I mean, it's in the shitter, you know? But, I mean, so Triple H is not that much better than Vince, unfortunately. And this has nothing to do with it's going to take time to correct all of Vince's wrongs. He's trying to get his ducks in a row, and then he's going to hit it hard, BC. No, absolutely not. He had a few good years in NXT, and that was it, guys. Other than that, he's never proved that he can actually sustain a winning formula, especially when competition is on his ass. We saw AEW just knock him out. When NXT got competition, Triple H not only lost, he was bedridden after that. You know, if AEW is able to surpass 1 million, maybe 1.1, and if WWE Raw goes back to 1.514, which is what they've been sitting at the past several weeks, well, then AEW is only 400,000 viewers away. What the fuck's going to happen if H gets some competition? I mean, he's going to be hurting. He's going to be hurting. In NXT, he had a lot of great minds around him. I always say this with Triple H. He inherited Dusty Rhodes' NXT. He had smart minds like the Regals and everybody. And he had his father-in-law's financial backing. NXT never got a dime, guys. They never actually raised a dime in the financials. Now, a lot of people can't even believe that, but that's actually factual, man. NXT never turned a dime. They were either losing money or staying stagnant. Isn't that crazy? And then people wonder why they felt they had to change it to a Nickelodeon-type coloring and totally change it to a new NXT. Because they failed, guys. As much as you may love Triple H and you miss the black and gold era, I understand, trust me. But he ended up getting beat, and then he failed miserably, and he just panicked. He started copying Tony Khan. He couldn't get back on track, and before you knew it, NXT was in the shitter, man. It's just the truth. If you're going to talk about how great black and gold was, you got to talk about the downfall of Triple H too, the panic. The failures of Triple H, because there was plenty. And here we are, months in, man. Once the holidays are over, you get into January, you start talking July, August, September, October, November, December. You're in your 7th month of Triple H. And I can't say that the company is that much fucking better. A bunch of people came back, and the boat is now more full with roster members. It's a bloated roster even more, and now you just have more people that don't have anything. Guys, I know, man. I'm thinking about a lot of things at once, but that's what I'm saying. Vince McMahon is not going to give us a better WWE as an audience. They're going to continue to make bank, make lots of money, which is what a business is supposed to do, you would think. But serving your customers, in this case your audience, should also be top priority, and Vince McMahon's not going to do that. My problem is, it is already proven that 3H's so far is also not capable of doing that. So at this point, I have to raise the question, is WWE better without a McMahon or a Levesque in charge? Possibly. But you don't want like a Walt Disney buying it, right? Or at this point, maybe it would be better. I have no fucking idea. I just know that this Vince McMahon Triple H combo, man, it's just not resulting in must-see TV. It's not fun. When you watch Monday Night Raw for 3 hours every Monday, it doesn't seem fun. Whether it's VKM or whether it's 3H's. It's not fun on Monday. You can even say Monday night was a good or even great show. I don't know what the fuck you were on. But you can say that. But you can't tell me it's fun at all. From top to bottom, there was nothing fun about that match. Or that night. No match was fun. Sammy AJ, did you get some good wrestling out of it? Great. Becky Bayley, did you get a banger? Awesome. Nothing was fun. Nothing was intriguing. Nothing on Monday night had you at the edge of your seat. You know how I know? I went back and watched it, most of it a second time, for research purposes so I can spew this shit and know that I have 100% confirmation in my words. I always say, while everyone else is watching professional wrestling, BC is studying it. Monday Night Raw, WWE is a shell of what it once was. So far, 3H's is not helping that cause. But if you think going back to Vince McMahon is going to be beneficial, that's not the answer either. I think personally, we have to do without a Levesque and without a McMahon. And then we'll see where the chips fall. Now, moving on, guys, because that's all the McMahon talk I want to talk about. But he is, the latest word we're getting is he's not just thinking about a comeback. It's not just something that might be in the works. The latest word is that he is planning his return. That tells me it's as we speak. Chelsea Green, the latest word we got when I last spoke to you guys was that Chelsea Green took down her third-party sites. And this is off the heels of Mandy Rose getting fired because she had a third-party site where she was putting up some risky content. Not just nudes, but it was other stuff. A little bit more riskier than just posing nude. And WWE was like, dude, you either take it all down or take it off. No, she has no problem taking it off. Take it down or like, dude, you're going to leave us no choice. And no matter where you stand on that, right? A lot of people see this for what it is. WWE is not making a dime off of it, so they're going to be pissed off anyway. But a lot of people also say, okay, well, they do have sponsors and shit and advertisers, and you can't just be like, you can't be simulating that you're riding your fucking significant other or you're doing funky shit with fucking eggplants and bananas and shit, whatever the hell she's posting. You know, that's kind of like, that's beyond just posing nude. And it's like, can we meet in the middle? How about you can do your nudes and get all the money, we get nothing, but can you please not do the riskier shit because it affects the company? I think if they all just sat down on the table, everybody was an adult, you can come to an agreement. But as it stands, she did not want to take anything down. She's happy with the money she's making. She's happy with the content. And she's fired. And that's where we stand. Now, days later, Chelsea Green eliminates her third-party site. She takes off. I think one of them was like an OnlyFans, for instance. And Chelsea Green deleted that shit. That's when we last spoke yesterday. Now, a new development. A little bit of breaking news for Chelsea Green. Recently, just a few hours ago, she posted up on her social it was like I forgot if it was like a meme or one of those GIFs or something, but it was her debut in WWE with Charlotte Flair. And she made many references afterwards. I don't know if it was in lieu of a fan question or bouncing something off of a fan response, but she started talking about WWE and unfinished business with them in that same thread. So she's starting to drop these little Easter eggs, right? These little hints are becoming more and more, some of them small, like just posting about Charlotte Flair, her debut, and unfinished business in WWE, and some much bigger, like getting rid of her third-party sites. Guys, I don't know if she's jockeying or positioning herself for a WWE comeback, or at this rate, is she already signed and it's just a matter of time? In which case, with Triple H's all these arrivals and re-signings, what the fuck do you do with Chelsea? I can't wait to see her back because she never got a chance the first time around. She got injured when she got up to the main roster, and then she got tossed to the side like yesterday's garbage, and I was pretty upset about that. Unlike Bronson, I'm not a big Bronson Reed fan. He's just another big dude that can do some moves. He can't really talk on the mic. I'm just not that high on Bronson like a lot of you might be. But with Chelsea, I really wanted to see what she brought to the table because I know she can bring a lot to that fucking table. A feast. Whether it's Thanksgiving or a regular fucking Monday night dinner, Chelsea Green can bring a lot, and she never even got the opportunity. She got injured. She got tossed aside. So that's one signing that I would actually be intrigued with. So if this is going down for real, count BC in on that. I know we have a bloated roster, but sometimes there's that signing that you're like, well, fuck, that has to happen. So we'll see on Chelsea Green, but the latest is she's dropping more and more hints on her social as well. Also, BigE dropped a couple of updates on his recovery, if you will. And of course, that dude was just done dirty so many ways. Some that you could have prevented and some that you could not have, right? Done dirty booking-wise because this guy got the short end of the stick. I felt he was a really good champion. He should have been utilized and booked much more properly. Instead, he does the job over to Roman Reigns, and then the next month he's doing the job to Brock Lesnar. His belt gets taken away, and once his title is gone, he quietly goes over to the Blue brand so he can snuggle back up with the New Day and form the fucking 3-person tag team, the New Day. So he went from world champion to losing against Roman and Brock in basically the same month or two. And then he quietly gets booted to SmackDown where they say, go play in your tag team again. He was just done dirty. And then not far after, literally a week or two after that happened, he was dropped on his dome piece by a very beyond greener than Lambeau Field grass in Green Bay, Wisconsin, a beyond green Ridge Holland drops him on his head. And for anyone that says, oh, it was just an accident, though, it's a once-in-a-blue-moon occurrence, it wasn't Ridge's fault. No, it was. You can go back and check out what he did to Johnny Gargano in NXT. Almost dropped him on his dome piece, too. And there's been several instances where Ridge Holland did shit like that. Some of the more severe ones were Johnny Gargano and then Big E. Unfortunately, Big E did get dropped on his head and broke his neck several places. And one of the updates that Big E says is that C1, the same reason that BC says, as much as I love Big E, you guys know if you're a tried and true faithful of the channel, I just love Big E. I just think he's the total package in so many ways, in that Big E can deliver on so many aspects and levels. I just love Big E, and I feel that shit was just, the way it all went down just doesn't feel right. So obviously Big E returning, I mean, yeah, I'd be 100% down with if his health allows him to do such. And that's where BC always said with that C1, the good news is he didn't need that extra surgery. The bad news is it did not heal properly. And that's what happens with a C1. Usually, guys, the majority of the time, that C1 is not going to heal properly or as it should. This is one of those cases. He raised this concern months ago with an update that he gave us. And here we are now, and they still have more scans and more tests to do. But he's hopeful that he's on the mend. He's actually training, not for an in-ring comeback necessarily, but doing some training, getting his body right, his mind right. I mean, he's back in the swing of things. The fact that this dude can walk is all we should be concerned with, man. That is what we are thankful and grateful for. This could have been so much worse, where this dude never walks again. Do you guys realize how bad this was? Especially with a C1? Fractures with an S? So the fact that he can walk, forget about pro wrestling, man. If that ever is able to happen in the future, bonus, cherry on top times 1,000,000. I get it. But at this juncture, I wouldn't even be thinking about returning to the wrestling ring, man. With a C1 fracture like that, it obviously did not heal properly. You're still need all these scans and tests just to see where you're at. I mean, if you guys think this guy is wrestling anytime within the next couple of years, I would not hold your breath on that. And I'm not trying to be a pessimist here. I'm trying to be optimistic. Maybe one day we can see him in the ring. And even if that's the case, man, you got to have a game plan. You can't just be taking fucking suplexes and power bombs and all that shit. This may not be what you guys want to hear. But again, take it from a huge Big E fan like BC. I've always stuck by this dude. I mean, there came a time where I was like, you got to split up the New Day because Big E's too good for this shit. I mean, I literally said that. Like, no offense to the New Day. Big E deserves better than this. And when he got his title, man, there was none happier than BC. Even when people started jumping off the bandwagon after, you know how fickle fans are. Once their favorite gets the title, in about 2 weeks, they say they're boring, it's stale, and they move on to the next. No, BC always was happy to ride that bandwagon of Big E. So I just have to be real with you, man, as Big E would be. A return to the ring. To say that's optimistic would be an understatement. Let's just be happy he is walking in good spirits. He can train. He can get his mind and body correct. He can do all the things he loves, just not wrestle right now. And if he never is able to, he is so fucking talented. There's 100 things he can do in that company or anywhere in wrestling. If you think you've seen the end of Big E, whether he comes back to a wrestling ring in his lifetime or not, if you think you've seen the last of him in pro wrestling, think again. He's too fucking talented. He can be fucking epic as a commentator, as a fucking manager. He could be fucking backstage in 100 roles. He could do anything, man. He's that fucking good. So that's the latest, man. The C1 just needs a lot more scans and updates, or tests, I should say, before he can give any more of a real detailed full throttle update, man. The C1 is just a bitch. You know what I mean? And doesn't it figure? That's the one that fucking snapped in a couple of places. So we wish the best for Big E, man. And this, you know, there's some injuries like ACLs or something. Okay, it takes 9 months to a year tops. You know, Dislocate an elbow, maybe six months to 8 months, maybe, right? You tweak your fucking ankle or a knee, 4 months to 6 months tops, right? And then you get a broken neck or something severe like that, and it's either years to never returning. And I don't think people understand that when an injury like this happens to someone like Big E, and you're like, oh man, hopefully one day, right? He'll be back one day. It's going to take a while, maybe a year or two. No, what if they never do, right? We saw it with Paige and Edge and Bryan Danielson and so many others. Saraya, I should say. Stone Cold Steve Austin, right? Those necks are nothing to fuck with. And all of them have one thing in common. It took them years to get back in the fucking ring when they finally did. With that C1 snapping in a few places, let's hope Big E is that lucky. And if not, it's not the end of the world, man. He's too talented. He can do a million other things. Anyway, I had to spend extra time on that, man, because we haven't talked Big E in a while, and I just want to show that love and support and strength over to Big E on behalf of the entire Amplified unit, and I wanted to just talk about Big E for several minutes because we haven't done that in a while. People are wondering, well, what the fuck is the status, man? He's been gone for over a year. I know it's a bad injury, but I mean, are we close? Is he never coming back, basically? Well, that's what I'm saying, man. I guess to put this in a nutshell, do not be shocked if he can never wrestle again. And that's shitty to say. It sucks, but that's the truth. And even Big E knows that, you know. You don't want to think of that, and I don't think Big E wants to think about that. You know, he's walking, he's getting better, he's on the mend right now, and that's all that we should be concerned with. But I would just cut the chatter of him returning to the fucking ring, man. That's a horse of a different color. And if we ever get to see that day, man, BC might be front row for that shit. Wherever they are in the fucking country, I might be front row for that shit. Moving on. Also want to talk, where do you want to go? Miro? Because we want to talk AEW Dynamite real quick, too, in a couple minutes. But Miro, man, Miro's in a little bit of hot water because Lana, or fucking, what's her name? CJ Perry? Is that her fucking name? CJ Perry, maybe? She cut an interview, and she basically alluded twice in the same fucking paragraph or two that one day Miro will be back in WWE, or Rusev, or whatever he's calling himself at that time. She pretty much makes a joke about it. But she's like, you haven't seen the last of Rusev Day or Miro. And why would you do that when you know that Miro is already in like discussion around the wrestling world about A, not being happy with the way he was booked in AEW thus far, B, not being happy currently because he's waiting by the phone, according to Miro's words. That's what he said. When asked about why he hasn't been used recently, he said he didn't say it was a specific injury that he's out for. He said, it's not my call. He says, I can just keep training, be ready, and wait for the phone call. So, Miro has always kind of told you exactly how he feels, whether it's WWE or AEW. If he's not happy, he's going to tell you. He has told you 87 times in AEW that he's not happy. And now Lana throws fucking some more logs onto the fire. Fuck logs. She's fucking putting lighter fluid into that shit. She's literally igniting those flames way more than they need to be ignited. She's adding more and more fuel to the fire by doing interviews like this and saying, yeah, eventually, this is basically what she said, paraphrasing, eventually, inevitably, he's going to be back in WWE, whether it's Miro, Rusev, or whatever you want to call him. Rusev Day will never fucking die, and he'll wind up back there, I'm sure. But why say that now when you know there's tension between him and his current employer? I can't even say employer. It's not like they have benefits or anything. They're independent contractors, but why add that fuel to the fire? I have no idea. And now Miro has to take a lot of the heat. In the last several hours, I'm seeing Miro take a lot of the heat because of Lana's words. Now, is she wrong? No. Eventually, I believe Miro will be back there, just like I believe Malachi, Andrade. I think they're all going to finally show back up to where they originated. That's no shade over to Tony Khan, and I hope they get booked properly while still in AEW. But she is right. Eventually, everybody always goes back in some way or form. But that's not the time to do something like that. And this is why I say sometimes it's better if you don't have the right things to say, or you don't know what those things are, then just don't do the interview, right? And I'm all for, hey, if you want to be fucking controversial, if you want to fucking raise some eyebrows, hey, that's one thing. But when you're literally, man, Tony Khan does this all the time. He throws his own talent under the bus because he does so many interviews and he lets out way too much information. I just spoke about Malachi. Do you remember when Malachi asked for his release and Tony said no? And then Tony Khan said how many years his contract was for, 5 years. And then Malachi had to make a video and go, I don't know where the fuck people are getting 5 years from, but that is bullshit. Do you know who he was talking about? Malachi was talking about the guy who broke the news that he has a contract for 5 years. His own boss, Tony Khan. It's the same thing with people in this situation, like a CJ Perry and her husband. Like, why would you do that to your own fucking significant other, man? Whether it's true or not, some things are just better left unsaid. Anyway, that's the latest on Miro. And I say this story because, and I mention this story, I talk about this story because I just recently spoke about Miro and his latest things that he was saying about being unhappy in AEW, waiting by the phone. It's not up to him. Tony Khan doesn't have anything to use. He's not using him. CJ Perry, by the way, I'm going to call her Lana just in case it's not CJ Perry. Lana, she did an interview last month. Do you remember what she said? She said, or a little less than a month ago, she said, well, Tony Khan just has his favorites. That's why Miro's not being used. Just like Vince McMahon has his favorites. This is what she said, literally. This is a quote. Just like Vince McMahon has his favorites, just like Triple H has his favorites, Tony Khan has his favorites. That's why he's not being used. So she already added fuel to the fucking fire. This latest statement just fucking made that fire an inferno. Whatever. Hey, listen, podcaster, we're here to talk about it, so hey, something for us to talk about, I guess. But you got to feel bad for Miro. Maybe not. Maybe Miro doesn't give a fuck. I just said the guy always has no problem telling you if he's unhappy. Maybe he's got no fucking problem, right? Lana gets home, tells him what he, honey, you're probably going to be upset. I said this, and now it's all over the interweb machine. And fucking Miro's playing video games like, what? Oh, I don't care, honey. Get undressed, you sexy fuck. And Miro continues to play video games. Lana's like, okay. I don't know, man. Maybe Miro doesn't give a damn. But he is taking some heat for that shit. Speaking of AEW, let's go over Dynamite real quick. By the way, I got the rating for last night, guys. Dynamite, you ready for this? Drum roll. 957,000 viewers. So no, they did not hit the million, but that's, guys, to be this close to the holiday. I don't use excuses. You guys know that. I can't stand excuses. Holidays, sporting events, playoffs, Monday Night Football. I don't give a fuck. I don't use excuses. But to be this close to the fucking holidays and gain 7,000 viewers from last week with a hokey pokey show called Holiday Bash, guys, that's a decent fucking number that I'm sure, I know they didn't hit a million, but I'm sure that's a number where Tony Khan can turn around, run away, don't look back in case it's a mistake. Just take that and just go into the new year, bro. Because not only, I mean, you're so close to that million, you gained 7,000 viewers. Just take it, man. That's actually not that bad of a number. All things considered. And there was a couple of segments. There was a lot of good segments, actually. BC liked a lot of segments from last night. There was a few segments that were absolutely batshit horrible that we also have to talk about. So all things considered, 957,000. 957K is not all that bad, believe it or not. And that's without a mulligan. That's with no excuses. BC says not that bad. The show kicked off. Now, I missed the first 20 some odd minutes because I was live with my amplified unit, my members only live stream, man. I was supposed to be a half an hour live stream. It turned out to be 53 plus minutes. But my members were on fire. BC was fucking having fun, and we extended the live stream into AEW Dynamite. So BC was competing with AEW Dynamite, man. That's not something I wanted to do, but my amplified unit members only, my gold card members were fucking rocking. So BC's like, let's keep going. So I missed the first 20 minutes. I went back and caught the Ricky Starks promo with Chris Jericho, and I fucking love that. What a good start to the show. Ricky Starks continues to come into his own. He's fucking rolling on all cylinders on that mic. Jericho comes out, wants him to be a part of JAS. And Starks is like, as far as I'm concerned, JAS, the J is for jobbers. Speaking, of course, about Action Andretti beating him last week. And Jericho's face was priceless. He was like, the fuck? I was not expecting this dude to drop that line on me. I'm a legend. Chris Jericho's fucking mannerisms, facial expressions were on point as Ricky Starks was blowing this dude up. And eventually he says, hell no, I'm not joining JAS. And Jericho's like, oh, if there was ever a worse answer, could there be a worse answer than that? That was not good. And behind him is Jake Hager, Mr. Purple Hat. And he takes out Ricky Starks. And Jericho gets in there. And Sammy Guevara and Garcia, and they just start beating the shit out of Ricky Starks. Action Andretti hits the ring, and a lot of action from Andretti clears the ring of JAS members. I don't know if I would have had that. I probably would have just beat the shit out of Ricky Starks, proved a point. Now Ricky Starks has a reason to gain some fuel and fire within himself to take out JAS. Instead, Action Andretti is now all of a sudden like Super John Cena. Super Cena. Andretti comes out, clears the fucking JAS. Now, let's take this fucking moment at a time here. Okay, he got the upset victory last week. He can't be fucking Roman Reigns this week or Super Cena. So I thought that was a little much. You didn't give the beating on Starks time to really breathe. But I do like that, man. Backstage, Action Andretti. They said that he was catching... who was it? Daddy Magic says, man, you're catching fire, man. You are on fire lately. And he turns around right into a fireball from Chris Jericho. So, Action Andretti, sometimes you got to reap what you sow. Well, he sowed an ass whooping to JAS earlier, and JAS just had to return that favor via straight fire themselves, man. Because don't forget, Jericho, he's a wizard. So I thought all of that was actually well done with the minor hiccups, like I said. But all things considering, I love what they did there with Starks, JAS, and Action Andretti. The fireball, the wizard shit. I'm all for it, man. Now, then you went into the Trios Best of 7 matchup, the next installment, Elite versus Death Triangle. This, again, I was still with my Amplified Unit Gold members, a members-only live stream. And when I finally got to it, I saw like the last 2 minutes. So I'm not even going to bother talking about it. I didn't go back and watch it either, guys. Usually if I miss something like the Ricky Starks opening with Jericho, I'll go back and watch it, right? Because I like to know what I am talking about. I do my research. I go into the history books. I will always make sure that when I'm talking about something, I do my homework on it. You guys know, if you're tried and true to the channel, I do not do schmaz matches anyway. I don't like them. They don't have proper in-ring psychology. They don't have proper selling. It's usually anarchy. It's usually wild fucking Wild West chaos. It's literally just a circus. And I don't like schmaz matches, man. Anything more than a 2-on-2. Once in a while, if it calls for it and the story is so intriguing, okay. I'll do it. So the point is, I missed most of the fucking match, and I just didn't care enough to go back and watch it. I know, basically, you missed it. It was a great actional match, man. It was an Action Andretti match. There was so much fun in it, Beasley. I know. I've heard all the chatter. I'm all set. Like I said, I saw the last couple of minutes with the barbed wire and all that. I get it. I know exactly what type of match it was. Just from seeing that last 2 minutes, I'm all set. Elite picks up the W. We're going to go into the 7th match. Renee Paquette is out next. This was a great promo between Bryan Danielson and All Ego Ethan Page. The crowd is hot toward Page. Dude was out there collecting all the heat in the building, dude. All Ego Ethan Page. I mean, if this dude wasn't on your radar before last night, he is now. Ethan Page is a heat magnet, man, in the right way. It's not just fucking, hey, can you please get out of the arena? Can you get out of our fucking sight, please? We're not booing because we're having fun giving you heel heat. We're booing and we're giving you so much shit because we literally don't want to see you. No, that's not the type of heat that All Ego is getting. He's getting real good pro wrestling heat. Like, he's playing his part beautifully. Like, you really just don't like this motherfucker. You want to see him smack the fucking dude upside his dome piece a couple, 2-3 times before the holidays. Dude was out there collecting all the heat in the building. I mean, all ego Ethan Page. I was loving that shit, man. It's like Sammy Guevara. He gets such natural fucking heat. Ever since Sammy started making out with a Ty, his girl, and fans are just like, oh, fuck this guy, man. Jericho was cutting lines to Ricky Starks in the opening, and the crowd starts chanting, Sammy sucks. And I'm like, damn, that's pretty fucking good on Sammy's part, man. All ego. You couldn't even hear some of the words they were saying to each other, Bryan Danielson and Paige, because the heat was so magnified and amplified onto this dude. Anyway, Stoke is out there as well. Stokely's telling Bryan to go shop at Trader Joe's and get your probiotics and cauliflower popcorn. Stokely half the way, man, is just fucking hilarious. Now, everybody, Bryan Danielson's hilarious. He goes, now, I couldn't understand a word any of you were saying, Danielson says. He says, number one, I can't see with that beaming fucking light bouncing off of your head. Stokely, can you grow any hair at all? So he's making fun of Stokely. Hathaway goes, you raggedy bitch. You raggedy bitch. This gets a fucking LOL from the crowd. And then he says, I couldn't concentrate on, I couldn't hear anything that you were saying, Paige, because they were all calling you a fucking asshole. So I thought just the exchange was so good, man. Paige calls Bryan Danielson Vegetable Man, because again, he's a vegetarian. So they were hitting him at shopping at Trader Joe's, getting his probiotics. Paige is calling him Vegetable Man. Danielson was great. Danielson says, did you just insult me by calling me Vegetable Man? This gets another LOL out from the fucking crowd. It was just great with an awesome atmosphere. And those are words I never really use with out of text in pro wrestling, right? Because we overuse words like great and especially awesome. These days, you can watch a 4-minute wrestling match. As long as there's some good sequences, the crowd will chant, this is awesome. It's so stupid, man. It's not awesome. It's good. Really good, I'll give you tops. But good and really good is way different than awesome. It's two totally different definitions. To be an awesome wrestling match, you have to have a criteria that checks off every box and is going to be memorable to the point you're going to go back and watch it 4, 5, 6 times. These days, we just say everything's awesome. Anyway, the point is, I thought that this promo was actually really good to great, and the atmosphere was awesome. This was just really fun. Next up, Mox cuts a backstage promo on Hangman Page, and then Samoa Joe cuts a backstage promo on Wardlow. Could Wardlow be any less intriguing than he is right now? He is one of the worst booked acts in AEW, and I say that because he had so much fucking potential, and somehow Tony Khan just made it a point, any which way possible, twice on Sunday, to ruin, or should I say twice on Wednesday, to ruin Wardlow. And any prestige, any fucking relevance, any momentum that this guy had, he finds a way to fuck it up. And he's not the only one, Wardlow. FTR is another tag team. Wait till you hear how they were booked last night. Hour number 1 ends with Hook. Up on the Tron, we see Big Bill Morrissey chokeslam Jungle Boy into a garbage dumpster. Hook cannot fathom such an action on his new BFF. So he hits to the back, man, for retribution. How the fuck? Okay, Hook just shook hands with Jungle Boy last week, and now all of a sudden they're best buddies. It's like Elias and Matt Riddle. It makes no sense. They form a tag team out of nowhere. Out of nowhere. And then the next week, Elias is having a concert dedicated to Riddle being absent. Come on, man, that doesn't make sense. All of a sudden, Hook desperately gives a shit that much about Jungle Boy? We could have done that story a little bit better, man. Mox versus Darius Martin starts hour number 2. Mox defeats Martin with the Death Rider for the W. A bit too competitive, if you will. I said this about Mox versus Lee Moriarty in the past. I also said it about Lee Moriarty and CM Punk, by the way. There's just some matches where it just doesn't, it's not realistic to me. And it's even in a different realm than Action Andretti beating Jericho last week. With the momentum that Mox was on, 2-time champion within the last several months, just how badass he is, just presence alone. I just don't like him in these longer matches with dudes like Darius when half the match plus Darius is just taking it to Mox. I know. I've been doing this long enough. This is where you say, well, basically, man, I don't mind it. It makes Darius look like a real competitor. It helps out Darius. And in the long run, Mox wins. It's no harm, no foul. Everybody looks good, BC. Well, that's in the eye of the beholder. If you feel that way, that's fine. I'm telling you, I've seen enough of these type of matches with certain individuals like Mox where it does not help Mox at all. And when you see Mox in these big main event type matches, man, I can't get out of I have not been able to get out of my dome piece the Lee Moriarty match. And he's had several of them with him, by the way. CM Punk, I used to say that with Lee Moriarty. I could not get that match out of my dome piece when CM Punk was now taking on other big time names. And you can't tell me that Lee Moriarty is anything more special than he was fucking 10 months ago. He's not. So it doesn't really do anything for her. I mean, they just try to make a competitive match, and at the end of the day, it's a match that nobody's going to go back and watch. I'm not saying Darius had to be pinned in less than 2 minutes like a jobber. It was just too competitive. I'll use that in quotes. I don't like those type of matches with certain individuals. This is one of those things where Mox should not be taken to task by fucking Martin. FTR versus the Gun Club, Austin and Colt. FTR in a tag team match. What? Usually they're either in singles action, 6-man tag or 8-man tag, sometimes even 10-man tag, or they're just not used at all. Right? They're actually in a tag team match last night, and you know what that means. It's Wednesday. You know what that means. You know what this means, man. They're going to lose, right? Because Tony Khan just does not book them correctly in AEW. ROH a little better. Subdivision of AEW can look at ROH, but in AEW, they get nothing. And guess what? The club defeated FTR, guys. FTR remains one of the worst booked acts in AEW. It is astonishing, honestly, and I do mean that, by the way. I'm fucking breaking more mics here. Let me give you, if you don't mind, because I would love to give you an actual statistic on this. I've done this before with FTR, but this is think of this like an updated statistics for FTR. Okay, this is their win-loss percentage for AEW Dynamite, guys. This is the last time that they won a tag team match on a Dynamite. Keep in mind, not a Friday Night Rampage, not ROH. For a Dynamite, a Wednesday Night Dynamite, the last time that they won a tag team match was... nope, that was a Return of the Dragon. That was with Ricky, and that has nothing to do with AEW, so no, that wasn't it. That was a 6-man tag. When the hell was it? Guys, I'm not even kidding. Black Friday, they won a taping against Dante and Darius Martin. You would have to go back. It was Battle of the Belts 4. Wait, that was Battle of the Belts 4. Cash Wheeler and Dax against Bishop and Toe. Was that on Wednesday or Friday? Because that's a victory. You'd have to go back to October 7th. Otherwise, you would have to go all the way back to... Wow, the 3-year anniversary, guys. Oh, no, that was a draw. They didn't even win that. So basically, guys, it's all just fucked up because I see so many like one-on-one matches because Dax has a bunch of one-on-one. I see so many 6-man and 8-man tags. I see so many losses. I see so much ROH and New Japan type shit. It's such a muddied win-loss record, but if you're wondering about their last, like Dax, for instance, going back to November 30th, his last 4 matches, Dax lost all 4 of them. Bryan Danielson beat him on Dynamite on November 30th. The Bowens and Caster, the Acclaimed, beat Wheeler and Dax on December 7th, a few weeks ago. The Briscoes defeated them at Final Battle. That's not AEW, though. And at the Holiday Bash last night, Austin and Colton defeated them as well. So, they just don't... Guys, the reason this is a big deal is because this is a team that had all the momentum in the world at the start of 2022. They were the fucking team. The reaction they were getting, they were holding 3 sets of title from around the world. Everybody thought, man, AEW is going to they're going to rock them on another level. And instead, Tony Khan did everything imaginable to take the carpet from underneath their feet. I cannot tell you how this booking is so unfathomable. And I'm sure there are people out there, that's fine, basically. I'm fine with it. I don't know why, basically, but I'm fine with it personally. Well, that's great for you. I've been watching this for the last several months develop. I've been talking about the FTR's booking and how horrendous it is for months. And I keep getting people go, give it time, man. Give it time. It's okay, basically. They know what they're doing. And here we are months later. And they're still just collecting L's, not just to the Acclaim, the tag team champions a couple weeks ago, but to the fucking Gun Club, Colton and Austin. And that's even when they're in tag team action, they continuously lose on AEW television. What, in 2023, they're just going to go on a whole year win streak and win more fucking titles, win the AEW? Is that what you're telling me? Then why ruin the momentum upright? From the jump, why fucking make them hit rock bottom for AEW booking? Because that's what it is. They can hold every title in the world. If it's not AEW, if they're not booked correctly within AEW structure, then it doesn't matter. Why make them hit rock bottom in AEW just to give them a fucking springboard to the top? You don't need to do that. That's Triple H type shit, right? Let's make Austin Theory hit rock bottom, make a joke and a farce out of a whole Money in the Bank concept. Make people never forget that type of a fucking failed cash-in to a joke level just so we can give him a little more of an edge and attitude. You didn't have to do that to Austin Theory. You don't have to do this type of booking for FTR, man. This is pathetic. Just to see them lose like that, I wasn't even shocked. That's what's even sadder. I wasn't even shocked. Awkward segment was next with Rick Ross, Keith Lee Swerve, Parker Bordeaux, some other fucking geek that debuted in a cinder block. This was so bad, man. Rick Ross looks at fucking Keith Lee and goes, "You're a big motherfucker." Like, bro, come on, man. As somebody who loves the F word on this podcast, the difference is it's a podcast. I can do that shit. You're on fucking primetime television. You know, I'm not going to stick up for the fucking the parents here. You know, it's your job. It's your responsibility to watch over your kids. But I would not want my fucking kids watching people just up there dropping motherfucker bombs. I literally have to set a setting on this channel, guys. The Tube made us as creators set a setting. Is our content meant for kids or not? And you're going to lose revenue and all that stuff, and you're going to lose views and all that if you say, no, it is not intended for kids. But you guys know, look at how we started this video. There's a warning label. Yes, we lose revenue, we lose views, all that. That's fine. I want it known. This is not made for this is not meant for kids. This is an adult type critique channel of pro wrestling. You know, we are going to drop the F-bombs and all that. You know, the performers should not have to result or in order to try to get over or get a reaction, they shouldn't have to be saying motherfucker inside the ring. And then we all as fans go, oh, God, he said motherfucker. This is awesome. This is great. He said motherfucker. He gives no shits. No, that is a very fucking, it is a lackluster, lazy way to try to get over or get a response. You a big motherfucker. You can't just say that shit, bro. And shame on fucking TBS for letting that go. You know, if the fans are chanting bullshit or something like that, holy shit, you know, don't censor that, man. That's something that, okay, that's the vibe, that's the atmosphere. When the performer is just out there going, you're a big motherfucker. No, I'm not on, guys, I don't know what you want me to say, man. I'm not on board with that type of shit. You just, and I say that because I wouldn't want that when I was a kid, man. And I grew up in fucking projects. You know what I mean? We were probably swearing by the age of fucking 5. But I know that I wouldn't want to view that, man. And I know that if I can say that about me back then, yeah, man, I know the world's changed a little bit, and now words are more freer used like that at a younger age. But, man, there still has to be some type of moral code, man. There has to be some words that are just not going to be freely tossed. I mean, where does it end? That's the start. Do you just start saying motherfucker in every other promo now? I'm sure a lot of you guys are okay with it. Basically, I want more of that, man. Yeah. Eye of the beholder. If that's what you want, there's no changing your mind, man. I don't want my performers having to rest on lackluster laziness like that. You know, those words have no fucking business being in promos, man. Macho Man never needed a word like that. Hogan definitely didn't. Warrior, whether you understood what he was saying or not, didn't need that. Ric Flair didn't need to say that shit. Roddy Piper didn't need that in his promo. The Rock didn't. Stone Cold didn't. It's a very cheap way. And I know Rick Ross isn't really a wrestler. He was just saying what was on his mind, BC. BC, it's Rick Ross. He just doesn't care. You know, he was just saying what was on his mind. I get it. But he was in the ring with a live fucking mic. You have to give a fuck. You're on primetime television. You have a responsibility. You know, this isn't the Rick Ross show. And in 2022, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't give a fuck about Rick Ross like a lot of you guys don't give a fuck about this dude. In fact, this segment bombed. This segment was fucking horrible, man. I didn't even know what was happening. Rick Ross looks stupid in there. Probably could have done without him in full. Parker Bordeaux shows up. Couldn't be more fucking... At least it was a little better than maybe fucking Bronson Reed. Then you got fucking Geekball Gary shows up. I don't even know who the fuck Geeky Gary was. But you say, how do you not know him? Well, I didn't take a second look because the segment was already off the rails to BC. I'll go back and do a second look. I'll research who the fucking guy was, and maybe I do know who he was. But anyway, this new fucking stable forms with Swerve and Geeky Gary and fucking Parker Bordeaux and Rick Ross, motherfucker. And here we are. And then there was a cinder block. Like, Lee was on like a ladder or something. They put a cinder block on him. Swerve jumps up, shatters the cinder block on the stomach of fucking Lee. That should have been awesome, but the segment was already off the rails. It was weird. I'm going to use the word I had in my notes. Awkward. And then we have a main event of Sheeta and Hayter. Crowd was just like, what the fuck? Crowd was so into this thing. And that's so refreshing to say for a women's match. A lot of the time, man, the women just get no respect in terms of wrestling reaction. Like, even when it's a good match, fans are just like sitting on their fucking thumbs like it's the last thing they want to watch. That's the last place they want to be. They showed up for this match. Sheeta and Hayter rocked that match, and the crowd showed the appreciation for it. So I thought that was absolutely main event worthy. And I thought it was on paper too. I thought there was enough there to make that match good. Enough substance. They would just have to deliver. I did not think the crowd would be that electric or even half of that. And they were, and that made it even more fun. And then we had the melee finish, obviously. Hayter's going to retain the championship, but then you had like, you had the cronies jump in. Saraya comes in to clear the ring. I think Tony Storm was down there. It was a whole melee. I wish we were a little bit more clean at the finish. Because that's not exactly a cliffhanger either. You know, if you're not going to be a clean finish, you gotta have a cliffhanger. That wasn't really a cliffhanger. That was just a melee. But all in all, man, there was a lot of positive and good to talk about AEW. There just was a little of those. I mean, the FTR booking is just mind-boggling. The Wardlow booking is baffling. The Rick Ross motherfucker thing is befuddling. But there was positives as well. I think a 957,000 rating, 957,000, which is what this show pulled. I think Tony Khan's going to run away. Don't turn around in case it's a mistake. Take that shit, run into the holidays. We'll see you next year. All right? That's what I'm saying if I'm Tony Khan, man. BC Amplified, and that's what I got for you guys, man. On the way out, I am going to give a shout out to all of my Amplified Unit Gold Card members. These are those individuals that are members of the channel, something we just put together a few days ago. And there's already 50 of you guys rocking-ish. So I want to give a special shout out to Jack Brewer, Godswilla, Ash Sims, JR9 Gaming, Carlos Ray, Jacqueline Robinson, Radarab TV, Sir Charles, Sadiqua Flowers, Anthony Boley, Ray Foreman, Movies 456, Clutch City Fan, Kim T, Jimmy J 145, Kevin MD, Crimson Blue 82, formerly known as Archmadeus, by the way, Dante Jaron 23, Unique Butterfly, A. Merrick, James Miller. Man, it's so good to see so many tried and trues. Gold card member status. Sterling Range, Dev Owl, Eric Leno, D. Carre, Soldierman 1984, Lord French Fries, Mayhem, Cy Parker, CJ White, PB Scylla Deontay Thomas, Terrence Burrs, Willard Bayless, Sam Byers, Dave Mealy, Jane Donnelly, Ashley Steggles, Richard Wade, Demonte Mabry, DJ is a prodigy, Alicia Vukovic, Batty Banks, Trina Scott, Christopher Blackshare, Patrick Charles, Thurston Pachalak, Pimp Jesus, Richie P. All members, man. All gold card status. Sometimes your shout out is going to be in written form post-edit, guys. Sometimes I'm just going to shout you guys out legit like this. It's going to be a mixed bag, but you guys are always going to know that there's that appreciation from BC, man. When I said, man, if you show up to be a member, if you sign up to be a member, when I say every vid, or at least damn near every vid, there's going to be a legit shout out. BC meant that. Whether it's in writing or whether I'm legit shouting it out, man, there's going to be a thank you right back. I wasn't fucking around. I do not bullshit. So much love and respect to all my AMP Unit gold members. If there's any new members too that joined on before the recording of this, I'll obviously start giving you guys shout out in videos to come. So that's what I got, man. Think, be, live, amped always. Until next time, top guy, I'm fucking out. BC saying check you. Peace.